Excuse me.
Hey, it's Kunta Kinte!
What's up, beautiful people? I'm Zach, and you're watching Zack Makes Movies, the channel where we talk about, you guessed it,
Frank Stallone.
First off, I want to welcome our special guest today. This is my father. He goes by Dad. Dad, tell the folks at home about yourself a bit.
Yes, I'm Zach's dad. I live in Houston, Texas, and I'm excited about watching my son's career blossom.
Last month, we talked about one of my favorite filmmakers, John Landis, and his masterpiece, An American Werewolf in London, a 1980s achievement that is rivaled by very few films in that genre. Today, I wanted to talk about another 1980s John Landis masterpiece that is also rivaled by very few films in the genre. This movie stars Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall. It is the one and only Coming to America. Dad, do you remember the first time you saw Coming to America?
It was in 1972.
No, it wasn't.
Oh.
Yes. The movie came out in 1988.
It was one of the first of its kind where you had two actors both playing three different roles. But Eddie Murphy was the hottest actor at the time, and Arsenio was the hottest talk show host at the time. So seeing them together was film genius.
And you have James Earl Jones and Madge Sinclair as the King and Queen. Also the King and Queen in a movie called The Lion King. They were Mufasa and Sarabi. You also have the great John Amos, who died twice this year. Samuel L. Jackson making, I think that was his first film appearance.
Freeze, you diseased rhinoceros pizzle.
And Cuba Gooding Jr. as well. I believe that was his first role in The Barbershop. The scenes in The Barbershop are some of the funniest in film history.
I fall on the ground, right? And I look up, it's Dr. Martin Luther King. I said, Dr. King. He said, oops, I thought you were somebody else. Oh, man, you lying. You ain't never met Martin Luther King.
Just incredible comedy all the way throughout. It's a romantic comedy. You have a nice little love story. It's probably one of the funniest romantic comedies ever made. Sherry Headley is the actress, I believe her name is. Perfect for the role. And John Amos is just so funny. He's the owner of McDowell's, which is a knockoff of McDonald's.
They're McDonald's. I'm McDowell's. They got the golden arches. Mine is the golden arcs.
Well, we'll start off by just kind of jumping around at some of our favorite moments in the movie. Dad, what comes to mind immediately when you think of Coming to America?
I remember renting the movie for you and your friend Steven to watch, and I knew the bathtub scene was coming, the royal bath. So I fast-forwarded through that portion of the movie and then felt comfortable leaving it, allowing you to watch the remainder of the movie. And as soon as I shut the door, I heard the door lock, and then I heard the film rewind and you guys laughing. That's the first memory that comes to mind when I think of that movie was the time when I introduced it to you. You know, most of my fun memories are just rewatching movies with you where you're watching it for the first time and enjoying it as much as I had. But this was clearly a classic that was a must-see for you. And hearing y'all laugh and enjoy it like I did back when it first came out is my best memory.
The royal penis is clean.
The royal penis is clean.
Yeah, just the concept alone of having this prince of Zamunda, this fictional African country, who wants to sow his royal oats. He's got everything he could possibly want, but he doesn't want to marry a woman who will bark like a dog and hop on one foot.
I know what I like. I would like to know what you like. For instance, do you have a favorite food?
Yes.
Good! What is your favorite food?
Whatever food you like.
He wants to find his queen, so where do they go? Queens. Immediately they show up and get all of their luggage stolen. Akeem is a perfect character. They couldn't have done it any better in terms of making him someone who was a fish out of water, but they didn't go the route of having him be kind of a asshole prince who thinks he's better than everyone. He wants to be treated like everyone else, and that's a fun kind of running gag throughout the film. There's a bunch of different moments throughout where, whether it's Arsenio's character or James Earl Jones or any of his loyal subjects who want to put him on a pedestal and treat him like the prince, but he waits in line at the bathroom, he's embarrassed when anyone comes up to him, he's happy to work. I think that's what makes his character so endearing.
Well, it was so real to life. I mean, a very wealthy person wanting to be poor and humble and just, working at a fast food restaurant for an hourly wage, mopping the floor. I mean, it doesn't get any more real than that.
Arsenio Hall is fantastic in the movie. All the scenes at the church are hilarious. The scenes with sexual chocolate.
While you're in the clapping mood, I'd like to give a big round of applause to my band, Sexual Chocolate.
One of my favorite bands of all time.
Absolutely. Yeah, Arsenio is the preacher.
I want you to put your hands together. Mr. Randy Watson. Yes, Randy Watson. That boy is good.
When Akeem goes out on the balcony to greet his fellow New Yorkers.
Good morning, my neighbors!
Hey, fuck you! Yes! Yes! Fuck you too!
She's your queen to be.
He's sitting at one end of the table while his parents are way at the other, and they're talking via, was it a telephone that they were talking?
Is something troubling you, my son?
No, Father.
Just them having a casual conversation, walking around the grounds, and there's a zebra walking by and giraffes, and
It was so well done.
just hilarious. And then he's got his, it wasn't fencing lessons. What was he doing with Arsenio? They were doing something, yeah.
Yes.
And then once we get to New York, it just turns into a completely different movie. And I love films like that have you have in screenwriting you start off with the ordinary world where you have your character living as they have been living up to this point, and then towards the end of the first act they enter the new world. And in this case, it's a very easy divide because it's completely different continents. The guy on the street he's selling all of the golds that they stole from them.
him. Yes.
Yeah, when
Another type of fencing.
Yes, exactly. They rob him and then they try to sell him back all of the golden items that were stolen. Akeem wanting to get the most meager apartment, and they walk in and there's the outline of a dead man and a dog next to one another.
Damn shame what they did to that dog.
The scenes in the barbershop are sort of
The best. Those are the best. The conversations between Arsenio playing a barber and Eddie Murphy playing an old Jewish man, and quite believable at that. It was
one knew.
I remember
yeah.
at the end of the movie, you watch the credits, and oh my God, that was Arsenio. That was Eddie Murphy playing those characters.
Wait a minute, wait. Stop right there. Listen, stop right there a minute. A man goes into a restaurant, he sits down, he's having a bowl of soup. He says to the waiter, come, taste the soup. He says, there's something wrong with the soup. Is the soup too hot? He says, will you taste the soup? All right, I'll taste the soup. Where's the spoon? Aha!
They're talking about Muhammad Ali, like Cassius Clay versus Muhammad Ali with the name change.
A man has the right to change his name to whatever he wants to change it to.
His mama named him Clay. I'm gonna call him Clay.
But it's kind of used as a structuring throughout the film where you keep going back to the barbershop and it's sort of a reset before we move back into the regular story. And then another great moment, the cameo of the characters from Trading Places. You have the two
Mortimer and
Randolph from
Randolph,
Trading Places show up as homeless guys, and then he gives them a wad of money and he says,
Mortimer, we're back.
Another Eddie Murphy
yeah, that
movie.
was probably, and that's
Eddie
another
Murphy
John
movie.
Landis film as well. John Landis was a nightmare to work with, apparently, even when he's not getting people killed on his film sets. But Eddie Murphy had a lot of problems with him.
You lose an actor and you're labeled for life, huh?
Yeah, 3.
A funny side note is that I didn't know what this interview was going to be about, but I almost proposed watching that movie.
I mentioned it
earlier.
yesterday.
I mean, how could you not watch that movie over and over again? It's just such a feel-good movie that's so funny.
Yeah, it's got a nice ending too. You know, it's throughout all the comedies. What I was talking about the other day with Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is what makes it so rewatchable is not just the comedy, but it actually ends on a nice, heartfelt note. And this movie actually ends as a nice romantic comedy, as opposed to just ending on a joke. He has to go back to Africa. You think that now he's got to be with the barking dog lady.
A big dog. Woof, woof, woof.
At the wedding, they reveal that it's actually her, and he's very excited. Get that nice little moment. And James Earl Jones has learned his lesson. Madge Sinclair is kind of nudging him along the way. I like that they played it as, you know, a typical kind of husband and wife relationship as opposed to king and queen, where she really is just the wife who's like probably withholding sex from him based on, you know, how he's treating their son. Not that he doesn't have bathers to take care of his needs anyway.
Would you really have given up all of this just for me?
If you like, we can give it all up now.
Nah.
Our last video was about planes, trains, and automobiles, and yesterday I saw a post. Ryan Reynolds was talking about planes, trains, and automobiles, and Paul Walter Hauser, who's a fantastic actor, shared it and made some joking comment about how the two of them should remake the movie. No, they shouldn't. Absolutely not. Those guys are great. Don't do it. I'm not watching it. And the same goes here. Who in the world could possibly step into Eddie Murphy's shoes? There's nobody. None of his 10 children could do it. There's not one actor that I could think of that could do that. What did I think of the sequel? I was fairly pleasantly surprised. Generally, when they make a sequel 30 or 40 years later, it's garbage. Because it's very difficult to recapture the energy and original spirit of a film when you're not even in the same decade or era. And the world is so different now than it was in the 80s, so to try to recapture that energy is nearly impossible. But there was good humor throughout. I haven't watched it again since it came out, so I'll probably have to do that at some point. But, you know, if it was truly anywhere near as good as the first one, I would have been compelled to rewatch it again since then. So, you know, I enjoyed it. It was funny. I liked that they brought in Wesley Snipes and some other great actors. My friend Steven worked on the set of it. He got to have some photographs with all those guys, which is very uncool of him. But
are you name dropping? I watched the sequel primarily to see the barbershop scene. That in itself, it made it watchable for me.
Yeah, and Eddie Murphy as this old man who has not aged in 40 years. It's the same.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it was nice to see. You know, I mean, Eddie Murphy kind of stepped out of the spotlight for a long time, so it was nice to see him back. And Arsenio Hall, where the hell has he been all this time? So, you know, I don't know that Hollywood is giving him many opportunities. So they did try to reboot his show for a very brief period, which was a great show. And it probably helped Bill Clinton get elected.
Without a doubt.
Just a perfect cast, I mean, all the way throughout. They were very good at casting movies back then. The first one is just an all-time classic. It's one of those comedies that you can watch again and again and again, and you're not gonna laugh any less with each subsequent rewatch. It's jokes that don't necessarily take you by surprise. It's not shock humor. It's just genius. It's brilliant comedy, and it's all in the delivery. I mean, they're brilliantly written lines, but the delivery is what sells it, and Arsenio and Eddie Murphy are just unbelievable. Yeah, I love Eddie Murphy and Arsenio in this movie, but for some reason it's John Amos that I always think about. He's just so funny all throughout. Every moment that he has on screen is perfect, and you really believe him as this loving father who does have dollar signs in his eyes, but at the end of the day, he's going to do what's best for his kids. And when he sicks the dog on... What the hell is that guy's name? I gotta remember his name. And yeah, the moment where his whole family's sitting on the couch and they all get up and there's the marks on the back of the couch from all the grease from their hair is just hilarious. Yeah, but he was perfect for the role and so funny. Yeah, Soul Glow is just a great in-joke throughout that they repeat multiple times. You get to see the commercials for Soul Glow. The song, Just Let Your Soul Glow, is just hilarious.
Just let your soul
Do you want to mention the hand job he got at the basketball game they attended?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah, they're at the basketball game. And
he starts yelling, yes, yes.
Yes, yes.
Yes! Yes! What are you doing? It's just a halftime.
And then, yeah, the scene where he goes to the bathroom and the guys from Zamunda are there and just start bowing down to him. And
Who was that?
Just the man I met in the restroom.
yeah, all in all, I mean, what do you think this is your favorite Eddie Murphy movie?
Without a doubt. That's been the movie that I've watched more than any of his other movies.
Yeah, and there's so many great ones to choose from. Beverly Hills Cop and 48 Hours and Shrek.
Those are an exhausting journey,
Yeah.
those movies. Where this is just sit back and laugh and enjoy it and marvel over it, the talent.
Just an incredible film. It's definitely one of my favorite comedies of all time, and it's certainly in my top 50 movies of any genre. And it's just paced perfectly. The movie doesn't really lag at any point. Every scene is funny. There's nothing that I would have cut out.
The scene on the train.
Oh yeah,
where everyone's clapping. The old woman who he gives the earring. Did he give the earrings to her?
Yeah, he gave the earrings to her, and she says, "I'll marry you." When the king and queen of Zamunda show up to John Amos's house, and he's just going back and forth once he realizes that Akeem is actually the prince, is just so funny. And that little music cue that they do in between jokes over and over again, as people keep showing up at the door, and then he slams the door in his face, and
the music that they play every time the king gets out of his car or walks into
bam,
the
bam,
room.
bam.
Yeah,
It's like all the drums.
The pedals, throwing the pedals before.
Yeah, the rose petals.
Just every little thing.
She does his magic. All right, well, thanks again for joining us for another episode, and you can check out these videos here that I'm going to put over my dad's face if you want to see what else we have on the channel. And let me know in the comments what else you want to see, and I'll be happy to think about it. Happy Thanksgiving. Merry Christmas. See you next time.